I want to talk a little bit about the leaks from the TTIP. I haven't gone through all the documents. There are 280 pages of them. But it is very much what we know from the TPP. The Americans are basically pushing the Europeans to lower their standards in terms of things like like GMOs. Now, I don't want to get into GMOs per se right now, but the idea is this dynamic is important. It could very well be that maybe sometime in the future, unlikely, but possibly, or let's just put it in the context of, let's say, I don't know, Malaysia with the TPP. They like to put lead in their candy, let's just say, hypothetically. And they want to be able to sell their candy in America. But America says, hey, we don't want lead in our candy. And the Malaysians say, well, we signed a deal, and you can't inhibit our ability to profit off our very important candy business, which is buoyed by lead. So in the TTIP, I mean, I'm just saying that. Now a lot of people say, well, GMOs are not dangerous per se. So it's that's a bad analogy, Sam. And there may be some truth to that. The analogy, the dynamic's the same, but you're saying that the GMOs are not. Now, there was a report last week from the World Health Organization, the cancer research arm of the World Health Organization, announced that glyphosate, the world's most widely used herbicide, is probably carcinogenic to humans. They have like 4 levels. Definitely carcinogenic, probably carcinogenic, possibly carcinogenic, not carcinogenic. So this is up there. Now, just weirdly, Rob Fraley, Chief Technology Officer at the agrochemical company Monsanto, said that the International Agency for Research on Cancer was just cherry-picking data. We're outraged at this assessment, he said in a statement. Now, obviously, the International Agency for Research on Cancer has a incentive to find things that have cancer. Otherwise, they'd shut them down, right? Or maybe not. But now, the reason why Monsanto is upset about this is because they sell much of the world's glyphosate. And the reason why glyphosate sells so much is because Roundup Ready corn, also a product by Monsanto, dominates the American, at the very least, supply of corn. And they have a patent on this corn. And so even when there's genetic materials that blow onto somebody else's property, which is inevitable, they own the patent there and they can sue and basically push everybody out of business. Now, this isn't to say that the corn itself is unhealthy. However, when we say that cars, that we shouldn't build more highways, okay? It isn't because necessarily cars are unhealthy. It is because they require fossil fuels. And it's not so much that if you drink fossil fuels, because no one would drink fossil fuels. So it's not that fossil fuels are unhealthy. It's the burning of fossil fuels that are unhealthy. And not just that they're unhealthy, they have another implication. They create global warming. So if you have a product that only one company can make in the world because they own the patent, and that is actually their business plan, and in the production of that product, they have a complementary product which goes hand in hand to it that happens to cause cancer, then there is something fundamentally wrong with that first product. than the idea that Europe might say, hey, we don't want to allow GMO corn, for instance, because it necessarily means that we're going to be using a tremendous amount of glyphosate or glyphosate or this stuff that is probably carcinogenic. Not that the GMO necessarily has an issue, but that it is a package deal. And if we allow a little bit in, then we're going to get a lot because that's the way this happens. So that's an issue for the Europeans. And then on top of that, it's not just that. I mean, there are a whole host of other issues. The group says the U.S. wants to, the EU, or I should say the documents show that the U.S. wants the EU to drop its so-called precautionary principle, which is, I think, maybe the basis for GMO, but the basis for far many other products, pharmaceuticals.
Yes, it's an entirely different regulatory framework.
For medical devices, for a whole bunch of things. In other words, in this country, the bar in which to allow for a product to enter the market is pretty low. You need to show demonstrably that this thing is dangerous. In Europe, the burden of proof is on the producer. You need to show that it's demonstrably not dangerous. That's an oversimplification, but that's basically what it is. And this inhibits products that get made in the U.S. because we have lower standards. There are other issues, too, in terms of, like, environmental issues. They want the U.S. to loosen environmental and consumer protections, broadly speaking. There is a chapter on sanitary and phytosanitary measures. And that has to do apparently with GMOs, although there's no direct, the words GMOs are not used in it. The U.S. proposal indicates their pressure to get rid of trade barriers for those GMOs. The Global Low-Level Presence Initiative, which was an American-backed initiative to gain global acceptance of agricultural exports containing traces of unauthorized genetically modified organisms. Now, what's problematic with that? I don't know. 6 years down the road, those traces get blown into the fields of some non-genetically modified, and we already know what the legal framework has been set up in this country. And if we impose our copyright and patent laws on the rest of the country, eventually that's how you get there. The group, this is the group that, the Greenpeace that released the documents, shows that the Americans are proposing to allow corporations to, quote, petition for the repeal of a regulation if it was, quote, more burdensome than necessary to achieve its objective. Now, obviously, there's trouble. How do you determine whether or not a regulation is more burdensome than necessary to achieve its objective? Of course, you go to a panel of 3 industry lawyers who, after they stop sitting on this panel, will go back and work for these companies, and they will determine whether or not
seems like
the regulation is more burdensome than necessary. The documents also show that Europeans had proposed allowing certain environmental standards to be deemed technical barriers to trade. Things like, hey, we want to deforest your forests. Or, hey, we want to drill in the Thames River. Or, that type of stuff. The text included trade rules that could be used against buy local programs that support local clean energy jobs in 24 American states. So it goes both ways. So hopefully, because of the nature of EU politics, this may be the end for the TTIP. And then the question is, will it be the end? Will that hurt the TPP? I don't know. And, it's possible that the TPP gets passed in the lame duck session. I think that is its best chance for passage, because if we do have a President Clinton, although I don't trust her to maintain her promise to veto the bill, the ratification of the TPP, my understanding is it can't be renegotiated. In other words, right now it's all been signed, and what has been signed has to be ratified. And there's no room for American lawmakers to say, but we want X, Y, or Z here. That's my understanding. That may not be the case, but that's my understanding. So it cannot change from what Hillary Clinton has already said is wrong with it. But let's assume for the moment that Hillary Clinton says, I didn't read that other page. My bad. And that page basically is what makes it okay. Hi, I'm Sam Seder, and this is an Ann Coulter doll.
You should not be immigrating here. Yeah. Stay in your country and hate us.
For smart progressive talk and a little bit of this and even a little bit of that.
Mission accomplished.
Subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook to get some of our best video clips.